Hi, my lovely friends. Thank you for being here with me. Every time you listen, you're not just tuning into a podcast, you're joining me on this journey. I started this show because I wanted to share my own discoveries about learning, creativity, and finding a little more joy in our busy lives. I've been blown away by your support and your stories. Thank you for giving me a reason to keep going. You're not just listening, you're part of this journey with me. Today, I want to talk about something that's always happening in the background of our lives: learning. When we hear that word, we often think of textbooks, classrooms, or formal training. But what if I told you that you are learning new things every single day in ways you don't even realize? We often focus on the big, obvious lessons: passing an exam, finishing a course, or mastering a new work skill. But the most powerful learning is often invisible. It happens when you have a conversation with a friend, read a novel, or even just observe the world around you. This kind of learning isn't about grades or certificates, it's about growing as a person. If you only count learning as what happens in a classroom, you'll miss out on the incredible growth you're experiencing every day. You'll feel like you're standing still when you're actually moving forward. You'll think you're not smart enough or curious enough because you aren't enrolled in a formal course, but you're constantly picking up new skills, new perspectives, and new information. And learning more doesn't mean turning every moment into a formal study session. Sometimes the most effective thing you can do is just to be present and curious. Sitting quietly with a novel, listening to a podcast on your walk, watching a documentary about a topic that fascinates you. These moments give your brain space to process and connect the dots between what it already knows and what it's just discovering. When you start to notice this invisible learning, your life becomes more interesting. A podcast you listen to on your commute teaches you about history. A tough conversation with a family member teaches you about empathy. Trying a new recipe teaches you about patience and precision. You begin to see the world as your classroom and every experience as a lesson. Good things need roots first, and the roots of your personal growth are often grown during these everyday moments. That's when you fill your mind with new ideas. That's when you remember what brings you joy. That's when you give yourself permission to simply be a learner, so that when the next challenge comes, you have a wider perspective to meet it. Maybe you just needed someone to remind you, you are a lifelong learner. It's part of the foundation that holds your life together. Treat your everyday experiences with the same respect you give your work or study hours, and it will reward you with growth you can feel every single day. Most of us think of learning as hard work, like studying for a test. But some of the best lessons happen when we aren't even trying. This is what I call learning without even trying. It's the information you pick up just by living your life. Think about the music you listen to. A song isn't just a tune, it has a story, a history, and a feeling. When you listen to a new kind of music, you're learning about a new culture and a new way people express themselves. This isn't a task, it's a gift you get from doing something you already love. The same is true for reading a storybook. A good novel doesn't just entertain you, it takes you inside someone else's life and a different time. You learn about people's feelings, different cultures, and history without opening a textbook. You're learning for fun, and that makes the lessons stay with you. I used to believe that if I wasn't reading a self-help book or a school paper, I wasn't getting smarter. But then I saw how much I learned from my hobbies. Drawing taught me about how light and shadows work in a way that felt natural. Watching a documentary for fun taught me facts I never would have looked up on my own. Learning without even trying isn't the opposite of focused learning. It actually helps it. It keeps your mind interested and your creative ideas flowing. It's like good soil that helps new ideas and skills grow. When you are open to learning everywhere, you will never feel like your mind is stuck. This type of learning also happens when you follow your curiosity. Have you ever wondered how something is made or why a certain event happened? Taking a moment to look up the answer is a simple act of learning that can lead to surprising discoveries. It's those small moments of curiosity that build a bigger, more informed picture of the world around you. You just needed someone to remind you. You don't have to work hard for every new piece of information. Sometimes the most important lessons come to you quietly when you're just having fun. Let them in. One of the biggest reasons we feel like we aren't learning is because we see mistakes as failures, not as opportunities to grow. We live in a world that celebrates perfection and success, but hides the struggle that leads to it. But every single person who has ever achieved something great has made countless mistakes along the way. Think about a time you tried something new and it didn't work out. Maybe you cooked a dish that turned out awful, or you tried a new hobby and were terrible at it. In that moment, it's easy to feel discouraged and think, I'm just not good at this. But what you've actually gained is a huge amount of information. You've learned what not to do. You've learned about your own patience, your process, and what you need to adjust for next time. A mistake isn't an ending. It's a checkpoint on the path to a solution. And it's often the most powerful form of learning because it comes with an emotional punch. You'll remember what went wrong and why, and you'll be motivated to get it right the next time. I used to be so afraid of making mistakes, especially when I was teaching. I thought I had to be the perfect expert. But I quickly realized that when I messed up, maybe I used the wrong word or a lesson didn't land right, my students and I actually learned together. We figured out the right way forward, and it showed them that learning isn't about being perfect. It's about being willing to try, fail, and try again. Good things need roots first, and the courage to make mistakes is one of those roots. Without it, you'll never take the risks needed to grow. Every mistake is a valuable piece of data. It's a lesson that only you could have learned. So the next time something doesn't go as planned, don't see it as a waste of time. See it as an essential part of your education. You just needed someone to remind you. You're not failing when you make a mistake. You're learning. So don't be afraid to try and mess up. That's where some of the best learning happens. We often think of learning as something that only happens in our minds. But what about our bodies? Our bodies are constantly learning, adapting, and growing. This kind of learning isn't about memorizing facts. It's about building muscle memory, coordination, and physical intelligence. Think about a time you learned a new physical skill, maybe riding a bike, dancing, or playing a sport. In the beginning, it feels awkward and clunky. You have to think about every movement, but with practice, your body takes over. You don't have to consciously think, okay, now I need to lift my right foot and turn the handlebar a little. Your body remembers. It becomes automatic. This is a powerful and often overlooked form of learning. When your body learns a new skill, it frees up your mind to focus on other things. For example, once you learn to type without looking at the keyboard, you can focus on the words you're writing instead of the letters themselves. When you learn to drive a car, you can focus on the traffic and your destination instead of how to press the pedals. I've always loved to cook, but when I first started, every step was a conscious effort. I'd have to look up how to chop an onion or mince garlic. But after years of practice, my hands just know what to do. Now I can let my mind wander and think about other things while I'm in the kitchen, and it feels like a form of meditation. My body has learned the rhythm, and my mind gets to rest or be creative. Good things need roots first, and your body's ability to learn is one of those roots. Physical learning helps you feel more capable, more present, and more grounded. It's a different kind of intelligence that builds confidence from the ground up. You just needed someone to remind you. Don't forget that your body is a brilliant learner too. So give it a chance to try something new, whether it's a simple stretch in the morning or a brand new dance class. Now that we've talked about all the ways you're already learning, let's talk about how to be even more intentional about it. This doesn't mean you have to sign up for a dozen courses or read a book every day. It's about making a few small shifts in your mindset. First of all, one of the simplest ways to become a more intentional learner is to practice the I wonder habit. Curiosity is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. Whenever you see or hear something that catches your attention, instead of moving on quickly, pause and think, I wonder. For example, I wonder how coffee is grown and harvested. I wonder why some people learn languages so quickly. I wonder what would happen if... By doing this, you transform ordinary moments into opportunities for exploration. Even a quick search on your phone can open the door to fascinating discoveries. More importantly, this habit turns you from a passive observer into an active participant in your own learning journey. Next, make it a habit to ask why when you learn something new. Too often, we stop at the what or the how, but the why is where deep understanding begins. For instance, when you learn a new English word, don't just memorize it. Ask, why is it used in this way? Or if you're following a recipe, wonder, why does this step improve the dish? By asking why, you connect the dots, link ideas together, and see how each piece of information fits into the bigger picture. In addition, take time to reflect on your day. Most of us end the evening thinking about what we didn't accomplish. Instead, try asking yourself, what did I learn today? The answer doesn't have to be grand. It might be a new skill at work, a fun fact from a podcast, or even a small insight from a conversation. This reflection acts like a highlighter, marking the important moments in your day and helping you see your own progress over time. Another important step is to view mistakes as valuable lessons rather than failures. Mistakes are not roadblocks, they are stepping stones. The real question is not, did I get it right, but rather, what did I learn from getting it wrong? When you adopt this mindset, every error becomes a chance to grow. It's like the Japanese art of kintsugi, where broken pottery is repaired with gold. Your mistakes, when seen in this way, can become the most beautiful and meaningful parts of your learning journey. Finally, integrate learning into your everyday activities. You don't need to wait for a formal classroom. You can listen to an English podcast while cooking, read a short article in the morning instead of endlessly scrolling, watch an educational video during a coffee break. These small, consistent moments of learning add up, filling your mind drop by drop, until you realize just how much you've grown. In conclusion, good things grow from strong roots, and habits like curiosity, reflection, asking why, and learning from mistakes are those roots. They transform you from someone who simply collects information into someone who deeply understands and applies it. Remember, learning is not a race, it's a journey. You don't have to know everything at once. Simply stay open to the small, everyday lessons around you. The next time you hear a song lyric you don't understand, come across a new word, or make a mistake that stings, remember that you're still learning. And that process, with all its ups and downs, is one of the most beautiful parts of life. Good things need roots first, and these small habits are the roots of a lifelong learning mindset. They transform you from someone who just consumes information into someone who actively seeks understanding. You just needed someone to remind you. You don't have to wait for a formal moment to learn. You are the architect of your own knowledge. By being more intentional, you can turn every day into a classroom and every experience into a lesson. As we close this episode, I want to leave you with one thought. Learning is not a race, it's a journey. You don't need to try to absorb everything at once. Just be open to the small, everyday lessons that are all around you. The next time you listen to a song, read a sign, or make a mistake, remember that you're in the process of learning. And it's a beautiful, ongoing process that makes you who you are